Hi there, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my space. So today I'm going to try to lay down some vocal tracks. I've already set everything up. I've got the microphone over here. I'm going to move it into position. I've got the windscreen in place. I actually don't love those windscreens. They came with the Cascade and they're just awkward. I'm going to get some new ones. I just haven't gotten around to it. I mean, they're nice, but they're just kind of weird and awkward. But I've got the windscreen in place. This microphone is recording the dialogue for today's video. But once I get started, I'm going to turn that off and then I'm just going to sing into the mic. I'm going to start singing the track. So a couple of things I want to do is I'm going to start singing. I've made some marks on the floor and now I kind of know where to put my feet because the song starts with this kind of opening. It's like, ah, and it's sort of like this cry that runs throughout the song. And I noticed when practicing it that it overloads the mic. And in the rest of the vocal, I've got to get closer to the microphone. So I've basically made kind of two spots on the floor. And this is something you'll have to do with some of your songs probably as well, is the dynamic parts where you're pushing, you kind of have to have one position on the floor where you're going to step. And then if you're trying to get a little closer, a little breathier, a little quieter, you might have another position for like the main part of it. And maybe the chorus is you back off. And in my case, this intro thing that's, sort of powerful. I'm also, usually when I do these kind of like vocal tricks, if you go and listen to Robin Zander on Hello Kitties, which is the first Cheap Trick record, you can kind of see what I'm sort of doing. Also in the Peanuts Christmas special, all of the kids sing and it kind of has this like choir thing going. So it's kind of chorusy in the sense that I want it to sound like multiple voices, but I don't want it to sound like a bunch of voices singing different notes. It's just one, to be like triple track the same note. It'd just be like three people doing it, and it just makes it fatter and more like airy and more magical, I guess. It like has like this extra air to it when you do it three times. And what I'll usually do is do like a down the middle track, it's the mono track, and the other one I'll pan to the left and the other one I'll pan to the right, and it just makes it feel like it's kind of covering the entire space. So we'll do a little bit of experimentation with that, and then we'll switch to singing the verses, which I think I'm going to sing just with no double track, just a regular verse, although I might do a really small, like a really light, way down in the mix double track that kind of goes along with it just to give it a little gloss. But I kind of want the verses to be dry with a single track vocal. And then on the chorus, I'm going to double track it, but in a very subtle way. I don't want it to be too noticeable that's double tracked, but I do think the chorus will pop a little better if I put a little extra on it. And so we'll get to that and talk about it, and you can sort of decide what you want to do with your tracks. Do you double track or not? It can be overdone, but it does for pop, and for like pop rock, it adds a little something. It can also be too much and make it sound too slick, so you have to be careful. I like to try to play with it where I bring it in very low, just so that the other voice is in there to give it a little extra body, but it doesn't sound like double tracked. Enough of my yakking on that stuff. I'm serious about getting to this Zoom. I'm going to bring the camera in. I'm going to show you the effects, what I do when I set this thing up. It might help you. Then once we get done with the Zoom, we're going to cut back to here. I'm going to have the microphone set up and I'm going to start singing and show you what I do when I lay down a track. And so let's just see what happens. I think it'll be kind of fun. All right, so now we're going to go to the Zoom. Okay, so now we're in front of the Zoom, and I'm going to try to get it close up enough so that you can see all of the settings and see what it is that I'm doing, avoid any kind of confusion. All right, so I've got it in record, and you can see that by the red light here. We're on input 1, track 1. I have the high Z gain off, and I'm coming directly from the AKG P220. That's the condenser microphone that is being fed into the Rane MS1B. I'm coming out of the Rane, going right into input 1 on the Zoom. I've got the gain up right now because I'm recording this voiceover, but when I do the vocal, I'll have that rolled all the way off, and we'll only be using the Rane for our gain. Okay, so the first thing I like to do when I'm set up like this to record a vocal track or any track really, is I'm going to go all the way over here to this row of buttons. You have 5 on top and 5 on the bottom. The last one over here says Pan EQ. Let me move the camera over and just make sure you can see it there, right there. So we got Pan EQ. I'm going to click on that. And when I press it down, the first thing I usually do is I just want to make sure that my fader's at 100, like at the unity gain stage, so that we start with it at 100. And if I need any more gain, I'm going to get it from the rain, or I'm going to get it from up here, depending on what I'm using. But I'd like to have this be at 100. That's like 0. Okay, and then you go up. You've got a little ability to add chorus in, very subtle. I usually do that after the fact. While I'm recording, I'm going to leave all of these at 0. We've got reverb send. I'm going to leave that at 0. We've got low on the 3-band EQ. We've got mid on a 3-band EQ. And then finally, we have high. And then up here on the top, we've got the pan switch. So if I wanted to pan and get an effect where my voice went to the left, I would go to the left. And then if I wanted it to go to the right, I would go to the right. Since I'm just doing a main vocal, just a normal vocal that's going to run through the entire song, I'm going to put it right down the center. Of course, you can do whatever you want. And when I do other things like double tracking, harmonies, multiple tracks, multiple singing tracks for one vocal, I might pan some of those. So we'll get to that. All right, so, but that's how you get there. And then on these EQs, these are really cool because you can hit these. You can see how much gain is happening. You can add gain if you'd like. You can change the type. I don't want to do too much because I might screw up this recording while I'm messing around with it. But you can do the high cut filter, all that kind of stuff. And you can always get out of that by hitting exit. And I actually have the high cut filter on now. So if we hit that, we can change that back to EQ high and then exit. So now it's back to normal. So there's all types of, there's different places you can go to sort of play around with this and learn. And you can do some test recordings before you even get to your vocal, and you can find the perfect setting that really makes your voice sound good. Okay, so that's over there in Pan EQ world. We've got our pan, we've got our 3-band EQ, which is high, mid, low, reverb send, chorus send, the fader, which is at 100, like I said. We have a stereo link. If you wanted to record 2 tracks at once, I have it off because we're just doing a mono vocal. And we can invert. If we were to feel like it was out of phase or there was some kind of issue, you could try that. And you can also try it after you've recorded it. If it sounds weak or wrong for some reason, you can try inverting it, make it sound better. So I think that's kind of cool. And all of these settings are in this Pan EQ button. So let's press it again to get out of it. You can also always hit exit to get out of a setting. So now we know that we have everything where we want it. Our gain is at 100. We're flat on EQ. We're not adding any effects so far. And we're going into input 1. Next, we're going to talk about what settings that we use in order to make our voice sound the way we want it to sound. What kind of like preamp setting are we going to use? What kind of microphone tone or sound are we going to get? So now I'm going to just kind of move this over a little bit, and we're going to go over here to the effect button. This is on the top row of these buttons over here. We've got rhythm here. We're not going to mess with that today. We're going to hit effect. So now you can see over here on the screen, you can see that it says insert effect. Now insert effect, here we have it on. Now whenever I do these YouTube videos, I use an algorithm in the dual mic section. So we have dual mic. Now watch this, I'm going to kind of wheel through the settings. Dual mic is the one I have it on, and that's the one I usually do my vocals in because I like all the settings in it. Then we have stereo, and that's set on this crazy effect here. That's why it's making my voice sound nutty. Then we have the EQ that you can put on all the channels. It's like a compressor EQ thing, and you can put it on 8 channels at a time. I'm sorry. Then we're going to go to mastering. You can use this setting for mastering, and then this is a guitar setting, and it has several effects in there. This is the clean one. You can also sing through these, by the way. That's why I'm showing you. Forgot to mention that. Any of this stuff you could sing through it, especially these guitar effects. So you got clean, and you can run through all the different ones. I mean, there's so many of them. It goes on and on for days. And then we've got distortion, and I think there's quite a few of those. You can see sort of how that manipulates the voice. And then here's bass guitar, acoustic bass. Then there's bass again, just regular electric bass. And this is microphone. This has a bunch of settings as well. You can hear me kind of transitioning through these as it records. And I will show you some of these settings here. Like, so we have, let's see, we have number 00 says record comp, and I'm assuming that means compressor. So that's just your basic compressor setting. And then what you can do is, actually, I'm going to go to one that I'm familiar with. We're going to go to dual mic Warmy. And I've been using Warmy for all my YouTube videos because it kind of gives you like sort of a broadcaster's tone. It sort of has a kind of a thick sound to it, and you don't get a lot of that sort of tinny upper mid sound that's sort of annoying when you're talking. So that's number 21. So I'm going to come down here and look at this. This is input screen, and it's in input 1 and 2. So if we were recording something else at the same time and we've armed this track, this effect would be on not only input 1, but also on input 2. So it covers these two inputs. So let's say I was recording two vocals at once today. If I had this one in here and I had this one in input 2, I could rest assured that the setting that I chose, the dual mic patch number 21, Warmy, would be on both of these tracks. But it only does it with two of them. So you could also move it to 3 and 4, 5 and 6, or 7 and 8. But in my case, I usually do things in 1 and 2 just so I don't get confused. Okay, so there's that. Then there's also, let's see, you have an edit button. So we're going to hit that, and then it shows you what we have. The type, it's a limiter. The threshold, it's at -12. Ratio, 16. Release, 8. Level, 66. All of these things can be adjusted by the user, which is amazing. It tells you what kind of mic pre it's using, the tones, the levels. It has a low cut that's off. You could put it on, you could turn it on, whatever you want to do. And this is a great way to sort of learn how to use this stuff. Within that compression setting, it has a 3-band EQ setting that you could alter. And I highly recommend doing this because some of these settings are really cool, but they might be just a little off. So you could make your own custom setting by going in and making little adjustments. Delay is off. You could always add delay if you wanted to. I typically don't add a lot of effects to my voice when I'm singing or recording, mainly because I want to future-proof my recordings. I don't like to put weird effects and stuff that may sound cool or that you've heard on a track that you're listening to at the current day. But in a few years, that may sound tired and like an old trick from the past, and it makes the song sound dated. Of course, some of my favorite music sounds very dated, so whatever. But anyway, I'm going to come out of that now. So we've looked at all the effects here. And like I said, you can choose any one that you want. So if you come up here and you go to number 21 to go to Warmy, I'm going to roll it back all the way to 00, which I think is where it starts. And it looks like it's some sort of mic copy. It's a VO-VO1. And then we have VO-VO2. And then we have, what is this one? It says AG. So I'm assuming these are referring to mic brands that people would be aware of and have used. We have a short delay here. Fat, let's see what this says. It says fat drum. And so some of these are good for, ooh, that one's distorting. So I'm going to go back to Warmy. The one that I typically have been using, and I used it on the drums if you watch the drum episode, is this one here. Let me find it. It's called Big Shape, number 26. And let's go look and see what's going on with that one. I'm going to hit the edit here. The threshold is -12. Ratio is 12. TAC is 10. Level is 58. Like I said, all this can be adjusted in order to get more custom settings. It's a vocal pre. The tone is at 6, level is at 79, low cut is at 150 hertz. That's interesting that I like that because, like I told you, I prefer microphones that sort of capture the high end and cut the low. And so there you go. That might be why I chose that one. And I also really like the way Big Shape sounds on my snare drum. So I use Big Shape for the snare and for the vocal. But I'm always looking for other ones to use, and I used the numbers 00 a few times as well. So anyway, I think that this is a very helpful way to learn how to use compression and other effects, because it gives you the settings. So let's say you could learn from these settings, and then say if you're working with a compressor on another project, you would have sort of some settings to go by, which could be really helpful. A good way to educate yourself. Okay, so let's see, what else can I tell? What else can we talk about here? Let's exit out and just review exactly what it is that we're doing. AKG, into the rain, into input 1. We've got our track armed, obviously, because I'm recording right now. I would have the gain rolled all the way off because we're getting it from the rain. We're going to hit effect here, and we're going to pick our settings. For me, it would be number 26 on the algorithm dual mic, and that would be called Big Shape if I was to do a vocal right now. And then this is number 21. I'm using this for the YouTube audio. That's Warmy, and it's affecting input screens 1 and 2. So from here, we've got our levels. We know that our levels are good. We can tell from this test that we're doing. We've picked our effect. Now it's time to start singing. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to plug this baby in. We're going to keep our settings just as we've had them, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to start recording the vocals, and I'll show you how I do each step, as far as like recording the main track, recording harmonies, recording double tracks, all that kind of stuff. So until next time. Okay, we've got the Zoom ready to go. Everything's hooked up. I've got the mic ready to go. Windscreen is in place. Now, I've got the Fathead on right now because that's recording our vocals for the video. I'm going to turn that off and disable it. I mean, you could try to do some kind of stereo miking technique. People do that all the time, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to use this microphone, and I don't want to leave this one on because I don't want to have any phase issues going on with this one. So that one will turn off. We'll have this one, once again, going to the rain, from the rain to the Zoom, channel 1. We've got our levels right. We're in number 26, which is Big Shape. That was in the dual mic effect bank. I've got my headphones connected. I had a little water. Now, I'm a big believer in warming up, so I did my vocal warm-ups. Thank you, Catherine, my vocal teacher back in the day in Los Angeles. She taught me how to do that, and I've indebted ever since. So I do my little vocal warm-up, which is I just run through some trills and some high-low stuff, run through scales, and I've practiced it so many times before shows and before recording sessions that I have it memorized. I don't even have to play it back. So I have my little warm-up that I do just to get my voice going. If you chew gum, sugarless gum, that can help. I stopped doing that, but I do the tap water. This is just room temperature. It must be room temperature. Too cold freezes things up. Too hot, it tears things away, or like strips. That's what it does. It strips things away. So I've got my water here. In fact, I'll take a sip right now, because even doing these YouTube videos, you get your mouth gets gummy, and you kind of have that like nervous sound in your voice. It's like a breathy sound. You can hear me doing it when I'm talking on here. So you want to get rid of that and just relax, try to breathe nice and easy. Relax your voice, relax your mind. Don't get nervous. Drink a little water. Switch it around, get everything wet, and let this go down, and then try to just relax. So I'm going to try to relax. I'm going to wait till this train stops making so much noise out here. Unfortunately, I don't have complete isolation in my space, and that's probably something you're going to have to deal with as well if you're recording at home or in some kind of DIY situation. It's not a proper studio. So you just have to make allowances. No big deal. You can go make a pot of tea and wait for the train to go by. So once that train stops making so much noise, I don't know if it's picking up, but it was tooting its horn a minute ago and rumbling down the tracks. Made me want to hop on it and go for a ride. Just kidding. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this microphone off. When I come back here, I'm going to hit play and just start cutting that vocal.
Are you ready for life? Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for love? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Okay, I think I got an okay vocal. I went back and redid a few parts on it. The third verse, I had some problems, but I went and fixed that. And I had a little trouble with the distance thing because on this song, I do the and I've got my mark and everything. I'm way back here, but it's still just a little much for this microphone sometimes. And then the rest of it, I'm trying to come in, and the song is pretty powerful. It's pretty sung pretty powerfully. So I have to be careful with it. Something about my voice and this mic on this track, but I think I've got it. I'm pretty happy with it. And so they go all through the song, and that's going to be our main mono track that will run through the entire song. I'm going to triple those oohs with another. I'm going to do a double track right now. I'll pan that one to the left. I'll do another one, the third one, pan that one to the right, and it just gives those oohs like a big kind of like chorusy sort of spread out sound. Makes them bigger, more I don't know, just exciting, less thin. I wanted like kind of an angelic sound, like a I don't know if it's picking up like that, but that's what I wanted. So anyway, I'm gonna just show you how I double up on those real quick. Okay, I've got it queued up, and I'm gonna go when it comes up. Okay, now that's the double track. I'm going to do it again for the triple track, and that's the one we're going to pan to the right. That one we're going to pan to the left, and our original track that we sang, I sang it all through the vocal. That's the main one right down the middle. Okay, I might have to go back and do those over again, but you get the idea. So I've got 3 of those. The one that was the main vocal, left pan, right pan. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the chorus. Okay, now I'm going to double up the chorus. I don't always double the chorus, and I have mixed feelings about doubling. I love doing it on the ethereal kind of. I don't mind doubling and tripling that one, but I feel, sometimes I don't like to double. I don't know. For singers, it kind of feels like a cop out or something. I don't know. It's stupid. For me, it's just like a sound thing. If I want that sound, I'll do it. And lately, what I've been doing is if I want to use a double track, I make it very subtle. So it's not like super obvious that, I'm singing it as a double track. So I might do another track and just like drop it way down, just so it gives it a little gloss, a little chorusy kind of slickness. But the fear and the danger is going too far with it and making the vocal sound kind of slick. And I think that bums people out, like at the vocal, if it just sounds too fixed, too polished, and you don't hear any like natural stuff going on, and it just sounds like, I don't know, just starts sounding mechanical and boring. And I don't know, I think it just bums people out because they want to hear you, instead of like a perfect thing. So, but I'm going to do it for this chorus just to see. I like to do lots of stuff, and then you can decide what you want to use later. I mean, not always, but with vocals I do. I throw a lot of stuff in vocally because, like I said, that's my main thing. So now I'm going to sing along to the choruses. I don't want to die, don't want to know about the other side, yeah, that's for sure. Give me more. Okay, so that's one time through, and I'm not going to triple track that one. I'm going to go through and do that on each of the choruses. And like I said, I might not even use it. We'll get to that in post production, but it's nice to have it available in case we decide we want to like beef up the vocal or just give it a little something. And a lot of I don't know something about this song. It's kind of driven by the chorus. I'm also going to go through and do that outro bit where it's like ma. Kimi ma. That's sort of the vamp outro closer. Let me go and do those as well. I'm gonna just very subtly double track those, and I might put a low harmony on the chorus and on those, just very subtle, almost like a whisper track where you barely hear it. We didn't talk about whisper tracks, but a lot of times on big time major label records throughout the years, since the 60s, 70s probably, a lot of people put a little whisper track. So basically they'll just whisper the entire song and then just mix that down way low. It just gives a little some, I don't know what it does. I've done it on a few songs and it's worked, and other songs it's awful. It just depends on the song and what you're doing vocally and what's happening with the rest of the mix. But that's a thing you can try. Whisper track. Anyway, so I'm not gonna do whisper track. I'm gonna double up on that vamp. Kimi ma ma. Kimi ma ma ma. Kimi ma. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to do is make sure that last bit, I kind of drag out that last note, and I may double some of that, but you got to be careful because I want that one to sound, like just me at the end. So I might do a little something with that. But now that I've got all this done, I'm going to take it into the computer, clean it up in Audacity, and then we're going to start sorting through this and begin our post-production process. And then you'll start being able to hear the song, hear all the tracks coming together, and I find that exciting. So until next time, thanks again for tuning in, and hopefully you're going to learn something and not get too bored in the process. Thanks.